17 minutes after 7, somebody sent us, Roland, an earlier message about marriage and everything. I think I asked why he was sending us this. So he comes back. Bambaki Asamed in Fumbisi comes back and says, I send the marriage message because my wife is the best of all women in this world. I wish her Women's Day. You guys help me tell her. Memunatu, I love her, is from Bambakia Samedin from BC. That's nice. Thank you very much. Don't just say you love her or she's the best. Do something at home. Let it reflect in the support that you give her. But it's International Women's Day today. Several things we're doing in commemoration of the day. Gender Ministry is mobilizing support for revised Interstate bill in Parliament as it marks International Women's Day today. Today the ministry is hosting a dialogue as it reflects on the 30th anniversary of the passing of the Interstate Succession Law, also known as PNDC Law 111. So Jifa Bampo reflects on the current law and why the need for a new law.
It's International Women's Day, and on this day, the Gender Ministry is seeking to generate interest in the Interstate Succession Bill that is going to Parliament. Now, we've had an Interstate Succession Law, popularly known as PNDC Law 111, which was promulgated in 1985. 30 years after, the Gender Ministry and its partners are seeking to revise the bill and bring it up to further standard in line with constitutional and international requirements. Let's talk a bit about the history of the bill and how it came into being. And today I'm joined by Justice Ikuya Kunye here. She used to be a dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Ghana, but has spent a lot of time now at the International Criminal Court, but has returned home. Good afternoon, and thank you for welcoming us into your home.
Thank you.
All right. Now, it's been 30 years since the promulgation of PNDC Law 111. Surprised that that time has flown by?
Yeah. I'm actually surprised, but time flies.
We're in a democratic dispensation. A lot of the time when there's a discussion or movement towards legislation, there are coalitions formed, there are groups formed to generate support and the like. Back then, when the law came into being, we were under military rule. Can you give us a sense of how it was like before this law came into being?
Well, the law came into being at a time when I think it was the second World Conference on Women coming on in Nairobi, 1985, where every country was going to give an account of how they treat their women. And interstate succession law, customary interstate succession law, had created a lot of hardships. I am not sure that those hardships have disappeared now, but many times when a father died, sometimes it meant that children were taken out of school. They couldn't go to school anymore, or they had to change schools. They suffered a lot of hardships because even though customary law claims to have to take responsibility for children and even the widow, in reality, it didn't happen. When the person died, the family came in, took over everything. If you were lucky, you were allowed to stay in the house. If you were not, you were thrown out with your children. And that was it. And you can imagine the kind of hardship that people went through. And so there had been debate on and off about, let's do something about this because it's really not good enough.
Was there, say, a mass movement demanding this?
I don't remember a mass movement. I may be wrong, but I don't remember a mass movement. But I do remember various fora discussion on some of the hardships that, and a lot of us had classmates, friends who were faced with this situation and who suffered. And there was nothing anybody really could do about it. And then the PNDC then, of course, the world was going to Nairobi, and there was going to be an assessment of the rights of women and how each country was progressing. And so we had the 3 laws passed. PNDC law 110, 111, and 1112. The most important, of course, being 111. And that's what you hear people talk about all the time. And of course, the minute the law was passed, it was obvious that, first of all, there had not been enough consultation. There had not been preparation enough. And you cannot, by a stroke of the pen, wipe out customary law.
Why do you say that after the law was passed, it was obvious there wasn't enough consultation? Was there opposition?
There wasn't opposition to the law, but there hadn't been consultation. You're talking about the Interstate Succession Bill, which is now going to Parliament, and the Gender Ministry trying to garner support, trying to inform the citizenry, trying to educate people. There hadn't been anything like that for the Interstate Succession Law.
And that was back in the 80s?
This was in the 80s. And you cannot write off customary law by a stroke of the pen. The fact that you enact a law doesn't mean that customary law is going to disappear overnight. And customary law is operated by people, and it's a dynamic law. It doesn't stay in one place. And it has so many variations. There's a general statement that patrilineal societies take care of their children and when the fathers die and so on, and matrilineal societies don't. It doesn't work that way. I'm sure all of us know. Whether you belong to a patrilineal society or a matrilineal society, you can suffer the same problems. And there hadn't been time to educate the populace about how inimical these hardships were, how inimical to the society, not just to the individuals, but even to the society as a whole. When children have to stop schooling suddenly, when children sometimes go off because of the trauma they suffer after they lose their father and having their thing thrown out and so on. And so, yes, the law it's good that they had passed the law. Looking at the content, there was a lot that it didn't meet, but it was a beginning. Okay. All of us saw it as a beginning.
Okay, some have described it as a very good law. Another person described it as an outstanding law. Somebody else described it as going against the grain. Looking at how the law has been applied in your experience, people talk about using law for development. Would you say that it has improved the lives of women, children?
I would not say that it hasn't done anything. It was a genuine attempt to correct a situation that was really terrible. But nobody is perfect, and therefore it was not a perfect law. As soon as we begin to apply it, you realize that there are issues with the application. For example, the distribution of property sometimes leads to fragmentation, especially when there is not much, and so on. But I wouldn't say it was a bad law. It was good. It was a beginning. And what I liked about it is that all the women's groups rallied around to begin to educate the society about the need for such a law.
So I think the education went down very well, because I think even growing up, I kept hearing PNDC law 111. Maybe it's the way it sounds that made it so popular. But now we are in 2016. On this occasion of International Women's Day, the Gender Ministry is putting forward a revised interstate succession law. For you, is this timely? Is it appropriate? And what difference can it do?
This is 30 years of operating the law. I am sure that we have a lot of data on the operation of the law and some of the loopholes, some of the deficiencies, and some of the improvements that are needed. We have a lot of information on that. Maybe we could have done this 20 years ago, but it's better late than never. And I do applaud the Gender Ministry for doing this and also garnering support. They're not just doing it, sending it to Parliament and saying do it, but continuing to educate the populace, if I may put it that way, because the education has been going on for the last 30 years. Although I must confess that I haven't been out of the country and out of this mainstream women's issues for 12 plus years, I'm not very familiar with the current situation of the law. But I still believe that it's about time we revised it and improved it. We can only improve it. We cannot make it worse.
Now, the women's movement and gender movement in Ghana has been working actively, still trying to push more women into the public space, no matter what field or sphere of endeavor. Some political parties try to implement affirmative action policy. Unfortunately, that failed. Recently, sometime last year or so, we had the new bill for property rights of spouses go to Parliament. Unfortunately, debate was quite rancorous about that and all. What can we do to get people to appreciate that we need these kinds of legislations in order to put more women in the public space and also create or improve the rights for women?
Well, I don't know what happened. I wasn't here, so I don't really have the inside story of what happened. But my take on affirmative, I have no objection to affirmative action, so long as we don't put round pegs into square holes. Because if you do that, you undermine the whole process of affirmative action. And there's a lot of ignorance in the society, and it's not peculiar to Ghana, about what affirmative action is and what it is not. So people get nervous when they hear affirmative action. Oh, they are just going to put anybody anywhere. Affirmative action is where you find the right people to put in the right places. They are not there because they don't have the push. It's not that they don't have the qualifications, but they don't have the push. So you put them there, they will perform properly. And everybody would know that it's not just tokenism we're talking about. And I don't know about the property rights of
spouses
bill.
That is going to go back for debate.
We fought for it for so long when I left, so I haven't thought about it. But I think that whatever the bill is, whatever the law is that we want, we need to do our homework before the bill comes before the Parliament. We need to make sure that we have the right content. We need to make sure that people understand why we are asking for whatever it is that we've put in the law. I haven't seen the bill, so I cannot comment on it. But whatever it is, sometimes it is ignorance which causes fear in people to oppose some of these laws because they don't really know where it's going. But when people understand, and so one of the jobs that we have as women's groups, is not just the gender ministry's job, it is a job for all of us to do, is to begin, first of all, gain an understanding of the law ourselves, and then begin to sell it to the public, begin to talk to people about it, parliamentarians, ordinary people, civil society, and so on. Once people understand, because you notice that with the Interstate Succession Law, when it first came, there was a lot of opposition, because I was here and I was one of those who tried to work through FIDA to make sure that people got what they deserved. But gradually, as the education took root and people began to understand, they realized that it's not anybody fighting them. It's just a matter of justice, that when a father dies, his children should not be thrown out of the one house that he managed to build. And so we need to ourselves as women's groups, women's activists, and so together, of course, with the gender ministry and any other ministry that is interested, to begin to understand these laws ourselves, these concepts ourselves, and to begin to explain them to the people. If it's Parliament, these bills come before the committees. We have to make sure that we are there. Either we write memoranda and we ask to come and make presentations to explain why we need this kind of thing. Because they are also human beings. They are men and women. If they are men, they have wives, they have children, they have sisters and mothers. And the women also have husbands. And if they understand where we are coming from and what this law seeks to do, it is easier then for us and to go to lobby Parliament. Because if we simply take the piece of paper there, most people are self-seeking. They are going to look at, this is going to affect me, and and so we'll not look at it objectively.
So, in your view, how seriously must Parliament take this, so that maybe with the hope, as the Gender Ministry has,
they
that
have
they
to
pass
take it seriously, because women form more than 50% of the population of this country. You can't build a country with only half the population. This country cannot be built by men alone. It is obvious. I think women have played a role, whether in high positions or in low positions. Women have played a very important role in the building of the society, and they will continue to do so. And therefore, Parliament has an obligation to take anything concerning women seriously, I think.
Now, let me move away from that and talk about International Women's Day. It's a day that all of us take time to reflect upon our role in the society and what we can do to make life better, not just for ourselves, but for all the people we come into contact with. How do you think Ghanaian women have done?
As I say, I don't really know.
Why do you say you don't really know?
Because I have not been here for so long.
Wow.
12 years out of a person's life is a very long time. I know that at the court, we celebrate International Women's Day.
At the International Criminal Court?
Yes, at the International Criminal Court.
What's that like then?
It's fine. I mean, it's a day that is for women, and we highlight women's issues. We celebrate it by turning up, even though it's in March and sometimes it's very cold. All the women, because there's such a diversity, turn out in their national uniforms, and so on. And we have lunch together between 12 and 1. We set part of the cafeteria apart, then we have lunch there. And one of the senior women speaks. And the lunch is not only for women. The judges, the men, they patronize it, and we speak about women and what we can do to help.
What perspective do you take it from in that light? Because at the International Criminal Court, obviously, you're looking at lots of cases that involve war crimes and the like. Lots of women are displaced under those conditions.
A lot of the work that we do involve women in distress conditions. Women's bodies become the instruments of war. They are raped, they are sexually assaulted, they are physically assaulted, and so on. So it's an opportunity for us, sitting in that forum, to look at what we can do to help. Because when women are displaced, children don't go to school. When women are displaced, families starve, because they provide the food. And so we look at it and we tell ourselves, what can we do to help?
So for you, you think it's an important day to also not just think of women's progression, but also those who are in distress?
Yes, I think that if you take the African continent, there are a lot of countries where there is conflict. And when there is conflict, it's women who suffer most. And therefore, we have an obligation not only to think about how we will progress, but how we would work to stop these conflicts and to help those who are distressed, because some of them are so distressed. It's difficult for you to imagine unless you have seen it, And it's part of our obligation as women, celebrating International Women's Day, to think about them and to think about ways of alleviating their hardships.
Finally, you've talked about women in distress, and it's a good day to reflect on them as well as how far we've come. But I'm sure you've met so many women from around the world, and in the profession you're in, you've risen to the highest levels that many would aspire to, but very few get to. For Ghanaian women, is this a good place for a woman, Ghana, this country?
Oh, I think so. After all, I'm a Ghanaian. I didn't get to where I am through any other country, but through this country. I think that sometimes women, we don't aspire enough.
Why is
we are
that?
a bit reticent. I do not know. Maybe it has its roots in culture, in society, the way we are socialized and so on. I don't know.
Or maybe sometimes is it possible that sometimes women may feel overwhelmed as they seek to juggle a family,
It's
a
part
career?
of it. It's part of it because I have 3 children. Because I had my first 2 children, and then 9 years later I had my 3rd child. And it was not easy, especially in academia. You publish or you perish. You are not going to get anywhere if you don't publish. But juggling children, home, work, it's not easy. And it's something that you have to be resolute about, because nothing is going to change. You just have to organize your life in such a way that you will be able to do it, all of it. I must say I had help from my mother. At some point, my mother took an early retirement to come and help look after my children so I could do what I had to do. And I'm forever grateful to her.
So what will you say to all the women out there, young and old?
I mean, I still counsel a lot of women. I still mentor a lot of young women. And one thing I noticed very early on, they are very enthusiastic. But as soon as they get married and have a child, 2 children, they drop out of the scene. And so sometimes I have to chase them and encourage them. They need encouragement because it's not easy. Especially, I chose to work in academia because there's a lot of freedom there, academic freedom, and so on. But if you're working in a corporate world, a young lady with 2 children or 3 children, it's not easy. Nobody's going to give you the time off. If you work in a bank, for example, you know how late they work. Sometimes your children don't see you. So they need a lot of encouragement to be able to juggle all the things that we have to juggle together. But I have a lot of confidence in Ghanaian women, especially the young women. They are capable of everything they want to achieve. The sky is the limit. They just have to be resolute. Yes, and I encourage them to make up their mind that I'm going to go for the top.
Thank you very much. Just say Happy International Women's Day to the women from me.
Well, I wish everybody a happy International Women's Day.
Thank you very much. Should I say Justice
Professor?
Yeah.
I worked very hard for my professorship. It's fine.
All right, so that's Jifa Bampu's conversation. We've got another one to bring to you, but more messages on WhatsApp. Good morning, Mama V. Happy Women's Day to all women, especially my wife. And you go on to say, Mama V, I know a woman that has been driven out of a house that she labored for with her late husband. Women must be educated on this law to prevent this problem. Nyatapa from KJB sending that message. This one says, we're testing the fact that there's a serious political will in this government to fight corruption, so it cannot be. And you're getting into a conversation that we have not introduced yet. So let me move on to messages related to this conversation. Hi, Mama V. In Islam, we do not have Mother's Day. We celebrate our mothers all times in your life. From Chamba Ibrahim. Good to know. This one says, good morning, Mama V and Roland. Tell government. RSO by Azuri Samson Al Hassan from Tanga in Zebila sending us that message. Our friend Michael Ameni in the UK says it has now come to light that there are a lot of inconsistencies in President Mahama's verbal speech of his State of the Nation address and the official test form. The office of the president. It is unpardonable for President Mahama to say in Parliament that Keta Hohoi Ho and Kwando town roads are ongoing, but in his official test, the above routes cannot be found, and this had exposed President Mahama's. Okay, so you go on and on and on and on. Michael Amenin in the UK, we see where you're headed. Thank you for the message. Let me see. Maunyo, joy news, no size, you say. We thank you for watching the show always. This one from Dr. Abedi in Kwada, so aka Big Joe Shoe, says, kudos to you and your fantastic crew for your good work, but all Ghanaians should help me to send President Mahama to opposition. Okay, we get your message. Thanks for sending this. This one says there's been recent increase in SNP pension earners. When is the government going to consider cap 30 pensioners too? Indeed, cap 30 pensioners are suffering. From Emmanuel Opomba in Achim Kwabing Etsiwa. Back onto our Women's Day conversation. We've been interacting with some ladies about whether they think Ghana is a good place for them to achieve their potential as we mark International Women's Day.
Ghana is a good place. Bear in mind, Ghana is one of the peaceful countries in Ghana, and it doesn't really limit women to achieve their goals. And I believe that with a country like that, there's nothing that can limit you unless you limit yourself. So I believe women have a great potential. You just have to believe in yourself and just move on.
We believe it's only the men that can push forward. But here are women doing doctorate degrees, doing so many things. So I believe women can do the same thing. And if they are being empowered very well, they can achieve what they have to achieve. It's equally like what the men do. We all go to school, we study. And I think it's so open for women to come up now. Because we have ministers that are women. Hold up. And then we have, let's say, presidents that are women in other countries. So equally, women can also do it here.
PhD syndrome in Ghana is very high, and even we women ourselves, we see ourselves like we are our own enemies. When you are going forward, you realize that your own woman will try to criticize you. Any mistake, the little bit mistake you do, you see your own woman, your own friend trying to criticize you. I also say that sometimes when the men want to bring us down, they go to we, the women, trying to, hey, this, you can do this. And sometimes being maybe in a relationship with the man, you will try to let the man be there. The women in this country are not being trusted at all. The little mistake a woman do, then you see that the whole country will try to be. But a man, within 1 week, 2 weeks, they all forget it.
When the women go to school, they get to certain points and they cease schooling because they think a woman shouldn't go that far. But Ghana has a lot of sectors women are now building up to. Concerning the government sectors, probably it has been ruled by the men and they're actually not doing the right thing. Maybe if a woman has been given that chance to work, they can do something better for Ghana.
Ghana is a good place for women to achieve their potential because you have almost everything to talk about, the raw materials, gold, diamond, cocoa. Yes, it's a good place for women to achieve their potential because nowadays we want a white-collar job. That's why it's like things are getting difficult for us. Nobody wants to go to the farm to farm. People go outside. They say there's work outside. Outside is good and that. But some people are there suffering. Removing diaper from an old ladies, which in Ghana they do not want to do, but they are doing it because of money. It's like we are our own enemy. We are doing harm more than good to ourselves. Ghana is a lovely place. I'm proud to be a Ghanaian because the course that I'm offering hotel catch management. Even some of our colleagues who are not part of us, they just call us, we are cookers, sometimes when they're passing by, they kind of do fun of us. It's very bad.
I would say that it's a good place, but right now the economy is not giving the opportunity for women to achieve their whatever they want to achieve. The way the economy is managed by the government, political leaders.
Is Ghana a good place for us as women to achieve our potential? That's a question I'm asking that you can also WhatsApp me. What do you think? But our colleague Justice Beidou has also been exploring how women use bamboo to produce bicycles. We thought we'd share with you on this day, International Women's Day.
My name is Benis Dafa, the Executive Director of Ghana Bamboo Bikes Initiative. This is where we use bamboo to manufacture bicycles. So attractive. Sometimes when I say we use bamboo to manufacture bicycles, people think I'm crazy. You can see our gentleman is also working on the production of the frame. They are cutting it, make it in a different shape, very, very nice and attractive. That's what our scientists is also doing. This is the multi-purpose machine we use for the cutting of most of our basic materials like this, the steel tube. You can see our lady doing the marvelous work here, doing the cutting and everything, which is so attractive. So this machine does a lot of work for us. This is where most of the filing is being done. This is the raw process that they are doing. This is very, very hard work, but the guys are so committed and they are doing the work for us as economic empowerment for them. And as you can see, most of the lady and the guy too is doing the finishing process. We're hoping to broaden our scope to different communities, which we can retain them and also create them as alternative livelihood for them.
My name is Alibatu Saadia, a product of Ghana Bamboo Bike. I'm really happy to join this initiative because I was a school dropout. It has helped a lot of less privileged people. People walk miles from their house to school, and this initiative is really helping them because we are able to donate a lot of bicycles to them to make things easier for them.
Why are we using bamboo? Because we have a lot of bamboos in our country that is going underutilized. So we want to see how best we can change the face of using bamboo by cultivating, going into production, and even diversifying our production for both local and international platforms. The single bamboo plant that we harvest for production, we plant not more than 10 bamboo species, which also help us to mitigate climate change issues. Because as you know, bamboo contains a lot of oxygen that balances the carbon dioxide. The 1 hectare bamboo plantation that we plant not at least 250 bamboo species.
This used to be a dream for all the boys in Korea when I was young, because we couldn't afford even a bicycle. Now this is a good way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
And the good thing is, so these are made in Ghana. They're made out of bamboo. They're made by women. They're fantastic, and the women are teaching other women to make these bamboo bikes out of and to make them and then sell them, so that they have another income for themselves.
You say enka no na first ko bi twa mpampuro na bi orikoye TV pool ana se bia orikoyi orikosi abrosan a yedi sisi asia ikukwan ketukusu but say hu say mfasho abamu ama etim de bicycle mfasho abamu say etim de phone body no ma bebre mpampuro ere say bambu omutimi ediye nti hu say mfasho abamu ama say yena nanka yenya adwuma yezo aboa yen ama say yanya juma yeye na mnimse dudu a yewo ha nyina no ebeduru babi no numbers no kura ebe increase ya chen dudu a yeden yewo ha no
ese ba na ye ni ejule bia ye tie no na aboaye ese be kakra no do mu twanu agu tie nya nnu a ye be bodanso etumi de bodanso omutumi de lazy chair omu de table no ne ma bebre.
I want to become a medical doctor.
I want to become a teacher. Person me a doctor.
It helped me to come to school early. And also, if my father sends me, I can go and come back earlier.
A boy me say first me best school me late teacher. They say they me bantem. My papa's mama me team the cook.